Hi, I'm Clara Rose, and you are watching Influence Matters, where each week I share tips, tricks, tools, resources, and hacks to help people just like you to strategically and intentionally cultivate their influence. So before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the fine folks at WeBeam TV for making this show possible, and of course to our sponsor, Rosedale Publishing. Thank you, thank you. Today, before we bring in our question of the day, I wanted to just make a couple things really clear that make the question make more sense to you. Okay, so working with Influence Matters. How you work with me can happen in one of three ways. You can do it yourself, which is through digital courses and email access, things of that nature. The done for you, which I call co-writing, that's the process of us doing it all together. So a bit of hand holding, if you will. You are actually the writer. You're actually the speaker, whatever we're going to do together, but you don't do it alone. So there's someone beside you, and that's me. Or done for you, which is our true ghostwriting services. Now it's collaborative and you still have to participate because after all, the information is yours and in your head. I just do the writing on your behalf. So this question from one of our viewers is going to make more sense if you understand that they're a do-it-yourself customer. Okay, let's get started on our question of the week. So our question comes from a fan who didn't want to give their name, and the fan said, "Hello, Clara. I have taken your mini course, Everything Matters, and I'm currently in the Brainstorm and Blueprint book building course. My question is, as I publish my book, can you offer any insight about things I should avoid?" And of course, absolutely. There's some things that you need to know to protect yourself. There's also some things that are just scary stuff you just want to avoid. So we're going to talk about those today. And I call that 5 common mistakes when writing a book and how to avoid them. So let's look at them all together and then we'll go through them one at a time. Okay, so number 1, no project analysis. Number 2, no project schedule. Now keep in mind that I'm calling your book the project. 3, no project brainstorm. 4, no project blueprint. And 5, no project accountability. And we're going to go through those one at a time so you know what I'm talking about. So before we get started, let's do a savvy tweet, shall we? Strategically and intentionally plan your book project to help ensure success. You can always find me at Clara Rose Chat and tweet that out. All right, let's get to work. No project analysis. Now, what is project analysis? So I can't help you avoid it if you don't know what it is. So project analysis is really where you take the time to understand your why. That's, of course, number 1. Why are you writing the book? What are you going to do with it? What's your intent? And clarifying what your unique value proposition, which is really just a fancy way of saying how are you different than everyone else out there, what your message is, and how are you saying it differently so that you stand out in the crowd. So you'll want to really take the time to do your research. It's not everyone's favorite thing to do. If you're a really analytical person, be careful. You can get stuck in this analysis phase, analysis paralysis. You could spend so much time analyzing that you never actually do anything. So, just a word of caution to those who have that tendency. Don't get stuck here, but also don't skip this, because this is not fluff. This isn't something you can go, yeah, that doesn't really matter, because it does. This is where we really get clear on our why and really get clear on how we're different and what's going to make us stand out in the crowd, a very noisy crowd. It's also going to help us in our marketing pieces, because that's all that terminology is going to come from this discovery research phase. So the number one mistake that I see is that there's no project analysis. Somebody hasn't taken the time to figure these things out before they've moved forward. So just a little word of caution for you there. Okay. And of course, I've thrown in lots of savvy tweets today because I'm just in the mood for it. So the next savvy tweet that you can tweet out is, your book is a tool. I know we've talked about that before. You must decide how you will craft your message so your book is different. How will it stand out? Hop on over and tweet out that savvy tweet. Really standing out is going to be super important once you get your book out there. And the time to plan for that is before you start writing your book. Okay, let's move on to the second one, which is no project schedule. So it's really just like any other project. You need to have clearly defined start and finish dates to your project. You need to have parameters. If you don't have milestones or parameters or something to help guide you, you're not going to know where you are in the process. So really monitoring is going to come from this, your schedule you create. And then having a strategic plan around your publish date is super important. Now you might say, publish date? Oh my gosh, Clara, I'm just starting. How can I even think about a publish date? Well, I agree that can be a little intimidating, a little scary, but think about it in this way. When you do publish your book, you're going to want to say, all right, X is my publish date. I'm going to need to back up a certain amount of time for press releases and getting my sales funnel set up, or even calling local bookstores to say, hey, I'd love to come in and do my book signing. Can I get on the schedule? That's all planned out well in advance. So probably the second thing that I see people do is work on their book, and then their book's done. It's like, oh, okay, now what do I do next? Well, you have another 3 to 6 months of work to do before you're ready for the world to see your book. But doesn't it make sense that you could have been doing that the last 3 to 6 months? Of course it does. But you didn't know that because you didn't have a strategic plan around your project that was based on your publishing date. So no project schedule is really detrimental in the long run to the successful launch of your book. So, word of caution there, put together a schedule. Now, you don't have to schedule out every single detail, but be sure and give yourself enough time to add to the schedule as you go. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, hold on. I almost forgot our savvy tweet. I told you I was going to give you a lot of them today. Creating milestones and deadlines for writing your book will keep you on track when life gets in the way. Hop on over and tweet that out. Okay, life gets in the way, doesn't it? Right now, life is getting in the way in an unusual way, right? So things are going to happen. And actually, if you're in the middle of a book, this is actually probably a beautiful thing that you're stuck at home and you can't go play because perhaps you're getting your book done. Also a great time to start your book if you have some extra time on your hands. This is a great time to get started on that. One day, I'm going to write a book. All right, step off of my soapbox and get back to work here. All right, 3. I think we're on 3. This is the third mistake, and that's no project brainstorm. Okay, so this is going to happen and all the stuff's going to go into your schedule. First of all, this is where we get the ideas out of your head. All that stuff that's stuck up in your head that you want to put in your book, but it's not where you can work with it yet. Then you're going to decide, of course, how it all fits together. And then this one I see a lot. People are afraid to set those nuggets aside that don't actually fit into this book. So if you've been working on these thoughts for a lot of years or for an extended period of time, shall we say, a bunch of it could be stuck in your head. Some of it could be stuck on your laptop. Some of it's little sticky notes or index cards or, some people that I start to work with, they bring in their notebooks. They'd be like 10 spiral bound notebooks that they've been collecting ideas over the year. Clearly, not all of those are probably going to go into one book, but you're not going to know until you get them all together so you see what you have. And then it's about deciding, do these things fit? Do all of these things fit together? Sometimes they don't, and that's okay. So when you start to brainstorm these pieces, you can see, all right, these may not fit. I'm going to set them aside because this could be your next book. Or even better, this could be a series. If they're related, sort of, this could turn into a book series, which has all sorts of really great perks and benefits to it. If you think about when a book launches, you kind of get this, right? There's kind of a wave of excitement when the book first comes out, and then it kind of trails off. So what if you could strategically and intentionally create a series where one book came out and you had this peak, and then before you started to hit the downward slide, your next book came out? Couldn't you ride that wave through a book series with less effort? It seems like a no-brainer to me. If you think that your book has got more than one book in it, start by thinking about how could this be a series. A series can be, 1, 2, 3, 5, however many books worth of content or related content that you think you might have. Okay, that was kind of a little sidebar, but not having brainstormed your project is a really big mistake. To sit down at your keyboard and start trying to write without knowing where you're headed is a great way to write yourself into a corner. It's also a great way to feel like you have writer's block. You're at the keyboard going, I don't know what to write. Or worse, you avoid sitting down at the keyboard, or maybe you're an old school tablet writer. Avoid even doing it, sitting down to do it because you're stuck or you don't know where you're headed. So it's going to help you if you have done the brainstorm piece. So no project brainstorm, big mistake. And now you know how to avoid that. Okay. Of course, we have a tweet for you. Our savvy tweet today: all of your great ideas might not fit in your book. Set them aside for your next book or turn this book into a series. Right? I just said that, but now you can tweet that out and the rest of the world's going to think, wow, you're brilliant. This author knows what they're talking about. Okay, next, no project blueprint. Now, blueprint is nothing more than a roadmap, if you will, that you're going to follow to build something. So think of a blueprint for like building a house or building a project. This is where you are pulling all of those pieces that you brainstormed and you're putting them in some sort of order. So it's about creating a cohesive message, putting all of the pieces into your story, and then not forgetting to deliver on the promise that you made them. Now, Clara, when did I make them a promise? We talked about this last week, that your title is a promise. Your title, your subtitle, and the cover, the actual cover picture, is all a promise of what it is that they're going to get when they read the book, right? It's not just an attention grabber. It's, hey, guess what's inside this book? Guess what you're going to learn? Guess what I'm going to tell you? I'm going to teach you. I'm going to entertain you. Whatever it is, that's your promise. So yes, you did make them a promise. So don't forget to stay true to your promise and deliver on it. Not having a blueprint is like trying to build something without any instructions. And I've tried that. So you get that kit from somewhere, that you bought that thing at Walmart, and you try to put it together and the directions are not in English or there's no words. It's just some pictures. You're just on your own to figure out how it goes together. And the same thing is true with your book project. You need a structure to follow. When you're done, you should be able to look at that blueprint and say, oh, first I need to do this. And then when I'm done with that, now I need to do this. And when I'm done with that, now I need to do this. And remember, it's not just about the actual content that goes in your book, but we're talking about when the press releases come out, or when you start building your sales funnel, or when you start planning that book signing, whatever it is that's going on. If you're shooting for it to come out in time for Christmas because it's a perfect Christmas present, all of those things are going to go into your schedule, and keeping those things in mind as you build your blueprint. So, not having a blueprint for your project is a huge mistake, and I see it more often than you might think. Okay, I'm going to go back to the savvy tweets. I told you there were a lot today. Pulling all of the pieces of your book project together can be a challenge. You need a blueprint to follow as you write. Hop on over to Twitter and tweet that out. I thank you for that. Okay, project accountability. Now, this is a big one, and people think, oh, I don't need someone to help me with project accountability. But no project accountability is a great way to almost ensure that your book's going to take you 10 years. Okay, that was too scary, right? But I have had clients say, Clara, I've been working on this book for 10 years, or, I've been wanting to write this book for years, and they didn't have a plan to make it happen, but worse than that, they didn't have someone to hold them accountable to making that happen. Okay, so let's talk about project accountability. So, accountability, of course, matters. It really is about having someone to hold your feet to the fire, because guess what? It's super easy to make an excuse to yourself, right? You can say, oh, I'm not going to get up early today, if that's your writing schedule, because my head kind of hurts. Or, I was up so late last night, the kids had whatever practice, right? I'm just too tired to get up. Or, gosh, you know what? I really should check my emails this morning because I think I have 5,000 of them now stacking up. Or whatever it is, it's super easy to make excuses to yourself, and you buy into them, right? Because you want to. So if you have someone else holding you accountable, it will help you to stick to those deadlines or those parameters that we set when we were talking earlier about setting up a schedule for yourself. All right, who's a good person to help you with accountability? Well, if you are working on a book club is one way that you can get some accountability. So find a local book club and then tell them what you're doing. Say, hey, I would love for you to help me be accountable. Here's my schedule. Here's when I intend. Here's my intent. And tell them what you're planning. If nobody knows, it's super easy to keep moving that back. As life gets in the way, super easy to keep moving that back, right? If you've told someone, now you have somebody who will go, how's the book coming along? Or, oh, isn't today that you're supposed to hit chapter 5? Did you do that? So book clubs are a really great place for that. Another great place is to find a mastermind group. I'm a part of a couple mastermind groups, and I have been for years. I think they're hugely valuable from an accountability standpoint. So each week with my primary one, we meet for an hour and a half. That's a huge commitment to make every single week for an hour and a half. It would be easy to say, oh gosh, I have a client, I really can't be there today, or this is the only time I can get my hair appointment. Well, not right now, because none of us can get hair appointments, but in general, it's easy to say things like that unless you understand the value that those groups bring to you. So this particular one, we share what our intent is. It's not just around books, of course. We all use the same platform for our digital courses. So sometimes it's around Kajabi. Sometimes it's around, copy, and they'll ask me questions because I'm the copy expert in the group. We have a marketing expert in the group, and I can pick her brain. So it's about having accountability to somebody else for what we say we're going to do. And then, of course, it's great if you can afford to have, or you have the time to have, an accountability one-on-one partner. And that can be somebody who just is also working toward a similar goal and you meet on a regular basis. Or it can be somebody that you hire professionally to help hold your feet to the fire to make sure that you're accountable to sticking to the schedule that you said that you were going to stick to. Of course, that's a service that comes with anyone who helps you do a book build, which is we have the digital course, which is the do-it-yourself, the brainstorm blueprint. That's going to help hold your feet to the fire in that I'm watching you, or the co-writing where I do it with you. And of course, that comes with a lot more accountability. And then if I'm going to ghostwrite for you, then you're going to spend the time with me so that I can get all of the good stuff out of your brain and I can hear your voice and write it for you. So accountability is built into all three of those. There are other services out there, of course, that can help you with that. Make sure when you find one that somebody who has a proven process that you can follow to not just build a great book, but that has built-in accountability for you. I think one of the things that I do really well in my business, and hopefully my clients would agree with this, is that I'm a small enough company that I give really personalized attention. And so you might get a text from me that says, I haven't seen chapter 6 yet, and we're meeting tomorrow. Is chapter 6 ready for us? Do you need an extra day? One of my clients says that's mothering. That's actually her husband who said that. Oh, she mothers you, doesn't she? Maybe a little bit, but only because I'm so vested in their projects and in them and their success that I maybe mother a little bit, not intentionally. But finding somebody who you know that you can reach out to them or they'll be reaching out to you to be sure that accountability is happening. Now, I spend a lot of time on this particular topic, no project accountability, because I think it's probably the biggest hang-up for most people. Aside, of course, from having a good plan to follow when you start writing, not having someone to say, hey, where are you at in the process is a huge issue that I see on an ongoing regular basis. Okay. Of course, I have another tweet for you, a savvy one at that. When writing your book, find someone to hold your feet to the fire. Accountability will help you get it done. And isn't that something we all need? In fact, even people like me, on the books that I'm working on, I need accountability too. We all need someone to say, okay, where are you at? Are you doing what you said you were going to do? Okay, let's go over them and just do a quick recap as we wind down today. I don't want to run out of time before I say a last few things. So, 5 common mistakes when writing a book. What are they? No project analysis, making sure that you know what it is that you're going to do, why you're doing it, and who your competitor is out there. No project schedule. So this is going to spell out what we do and when we do it and keep us on task, keep us within the parameters of our schedule. No project brainstorm, which is, of course, getting all that stuff out of our brain and onto paper where we can actually do something with it. And then no project blueprint. So that's just the pulling of the pieces together and lining them up in a way that makes sense, in a story form that our readers can make sense of and follow. I call that a blueprint. And then finally, of course, no project accountability. And I've definitely harped on that one long enough, but I can't stress enough the value of that. And then I have a pro tip for you, which I don't always do them, but I thought this one was just relevant. If you need help creating a strategic plan for your book, hire a professional with a proven book building process. I'm pretty sure that there's not a lot of people out there in the agent world that have this, so it's not something that your agent is necessarily going to offer you. So you may have to find it in a company like mine who helps you with the book building process prior to finding an agent for yourself, if you decide that an agent is the right way to go for you. Okay, so we've been through all of that. I want to quickly just throw out there, I get my questions from readers or viewers, not readers, viewers like you, who've either watched us live on WeBeam TV, or they've watched us on Facebook as we stream live, or maybe they watch the rerun later. And I count on those to help me know how to serve you better. So I can serve you best if you hop into the comments and say, hey, Clara, I'd love to know X. And that's my heart of service. I want to be here every week to say, hey, yes, I have an answer for that question. Yes, I can help you with that. So you can hop on over there, or you can send them directly to me at hello@clararose.com. Be sure and ask your question, and then just take a couple minutes to say how you would like for me to refer to you when I am live. So if you want your first and last name, I'm happy to use that. If you don't want me to use your first and last name, just use your first name. If you have a business, ministry, or cause and you'd like a shout out, I'm happy to do that as well. We're all in this together and we're better together. So I'm happy to shout out for you. And I rely on those weekly, daily emails coming in or comments to know how to better serve you. So please do that, and I'm happy to answer them for you. Then, of course, every week you can find me weekdays. I'm on Facebook, and I do a daily Q&A of the day, where we like short format, quick questions. If it's just something simple and I don't need to, build out a 30-minute training on it, hop over there, and I'm happy to answer you there. I sure appreciate you spending this time with me every Friday. I love what I do, and I would love to help you take your idea for a book and get it out of your brain and into an outline, and then together we can take that next step if you'd like. I'm going to help you developmentally edit and get your book ready for publishing. Whether you want to publish with me and Rosedale Publishing, or if you'd like to find an agent and go with a traditional publisher that's not a hybrid publisher. I'm happy to help you every step of the way with the process. I am out of time, but thank you so much for joining me today. I love you guys. I appreciate you giving me your time and attention. And I will, of course, see you next Friday for another edition of Influence Matters. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.